We gave 100 people 100 seconds to name as many lines on the London tube map as they could. Richard, fill us in.
Yeah, we're looking for any of the 13 named lines on a London tube map. That's the one you pick up at any London station. We're not looking for the London Connections map, which has all the sort of main lines that go up and down the country. One other thing I will say is we won't accept the East London line because it's currently inactive.
OK, right. Terry and Laura. Lines on the London tube map. Terry.
We're going to go for the Hammersmith and City.
Hammersmith and City. Very good. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Hammersmith and City. It's correct. It's not bad. That means 30 of our 100 people said Hammersmith and City. That gives Terry and Laura a score of 30 to kick us off. Mina, a line on the London tube map.
I'm going to go with the District line.
Let's see how many of our 100 people said District line. Well, it's correct. That means 44 of our 100 people said the District line. That gives Mina and Deborah a score of 44. So on to our next pair, Mick and Martin. Mick, we are looking for lines on the London tube map.
I'm actually going to go for a line that's not actually a line on the map. It's a circle. So I'm going to go for the circle line.
Very good. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Circle line. It's correct. That means 59 of our 100 people said the Circle line. That makes Mick and Martin the current high scorers. OK, on to our final pair. Heather, what are you going to give me? I want a line on the London tube map. The more obscure, the better.
I think I'm going to go for the Northern line.
Very good, the Northern line. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Northern line. That means 64 of our 100 people said the Northern line. That gives you the high score of 64. Well, we are halfway through the round. Let's see where we are. Heather and Davey looking quite vulnerable there on 64. It's not a terribly high score, but it is the highest score. Terry and Laura on 30. Not bad, I suppose. If you can keep up your low scores, find another obscure line on the map, then you should be through to the next round. But there's really everything to play for. The scores are pretty close. OK, we're going to come back down the line with the second players. Please step up to the podium. OK, we are looking for lines on the London tube map. Davey, you are the high scorers at the moment on 64. You've got to try and find a really obscure tube line, if you possibly can.
My knowledge of the lines, it's not great, but one sprang out there, and it was the Jubilee line.
Let's see how many of our 100 people said the Jubilee line. That means 52 of our 100 people said the Jubilee line. That brings your total up to 116. Martin, you are currently on 59. To avoid overtaking Davey and Heather on 116, you have to score 56 or less. If you are below that red line, you are definitely through to the next round. If you are above that red line, you become our high scorers and risk being eliminated. What are you going to give me?
The only one I can think, apart from the two other obvious ones, would be the Metropolitan.
The Metropolitan line. Let's see how many of our 100 people said the Metropolitan line. It's good enough. That means 31 of our 100 people said the Metropolitan line. That takes your total up to 90 points. You are through to the next round. OK. Deborah, lines on the London tube map. You want to be scoring 71 or less to avoid becoming the high scorers and risk being eliminated.
I'm going to go for the Bakerloo line.
The Bakerloo line. Let's see how many of our 100 people said the Bakerloo line. Good enough. Very good. That means 46 of our 100 people said the Bakerloo line. That takes your total up to 90 points. You're exactly the same as Mick and Martin. You are through to the next round. OK, Laura. You are currently on 30. To avoid overtaking our high scorers, Davey and Heather, you have to score 85 or less with this answer.
I'm just going to go for a more obvious one, which I hope isn't worth 85, is the Victoria line.
The Victoria line. OK, here's your red line. Below that red line, and you're through to the next round. Above it, you are off the show. Let's see how many of our 100 people did say the Victoria line. It's good. Bad news for Heather and Davey. That means 47 of our 100 people said the Victoria line. That brings your total up to 77 points. You are through to the next round. So at the end of round 2, the losing pair with the highest score is Heather and Davey. Bad luck, you see. If we'd had Belfast bus routes, you see. Richard, what answers should they have gone for?
There was actually one pointless answer. It's a little bit of a cheat, but it is on the map, which is the overground, which is 4 different lines that go essentially from Richmond in the south up to Watford in the north. The Docklands Light Railway would have got you 14 points. So they have driverless trains. You can sit up the front and pretend to be the driver if you like to do that, which I do. Yeah. And 29 points. The next most obscure was Waterloo and City, which goes between Waterloo and Bank Station. Let's take a look at the most obvious answers, the worst answers you could have given. Heather, you gave us Northern. That scored you 64 points. Equal with that was the Central line, which also would have got you 64 points. And the most obvious of all was the Piccadilly line, would have got you 73 points.
Thanks, Richard. OK, Heather and Davey, you've wasted one of your chances to get to the pointless final. We have to say goodbye to you for today. We'll see you next time for your last chance. Thanks so much for playing.